You just follow them around.
I was just
So we'll watch what you
I
think.
was paying.
Being recorded and we are live on.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for coming. This is the City of Wildwoods Planning and Parks Committee meeting for Tuesday, June 16th. You can go ahead and do roll call
Chair Robleski,
here.
Councilmember Trottier, Councilmember Nyan,
Here,
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Van Eck, Councilmember Cummer,
Here.
and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, can we have approval of the minutes for Tuesday, May 19th?
So moved.
Okay, second,
Second.
Mr. Farmer, any other comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. Okay, at this point, we come to our public comment section and we welcome those who attend, who have an interest in sharing information with us. This is the time that we allow speakers. We just ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And looks like we have a few folks in the room. Are you interested in making public comment?
Good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, do we have anybody online that's interested in making public comment? You do, raise your hand.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and start with the action items for tonight. First, planning matters. It looks like we have public sanitary sewer extension to historic pond area Wildwood, Ward 1. Mr. Vunish, I think that's you.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you. Before the department begins its presentation on this particular item, I'd like to thank you all as well for attending tonight. Melanie and I certainly appreciate it. You have fresh coffee and there's water in the refrigerator that's chilled if you prefer it over what's been placed at your chair. So thanks again for being here, and to Melanie and Officer Fielding, thanks for doing all the support work. Thanks to the meeting work so well. So thank you. The department prepared for your consideration tonight a memorandum relating to public sanitary sewer extension to the Pond Historic area. For some, this won't sound new. As the memorandum identifies, in 2018, the city actually invested time, resources, and funds in looking into the extension of public sanitary sewer in the Pond Historic area. Ultimately, that extension was not successful. And principally, the reason why was that residents, property owners in the area, did not support either a community improvement district or a neighborhood improvement district to fund the improvements. That, along with just escalating cost at that time, to the project being dropped by the city. Saying all of that, obviously, there was a need for public sanitary sewer service in the area. The need isn't necessarily the Wildwood Middle School Living Word Church. They have more recent sand filter systems that are permitted under the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and have inspection schedules that at least ensure a minimum of maintenance and upkeep. However, Maple Avenue, Walnut Avenue, those homes that are occupied are on septic systems. Many of the systems are non-functional or have limited functionality. The reason I say that is because of two major factors. Three, actually. The size of the lots, many of them are around 20,000 square feet or less. Secondly, is a perched or high water table. And then thirdly, the soils don't accommodate it very well. So in many instances, there are failures or there is just direct discharge of untreated wastewater to the surface. That's a public health and safety concern for the city. We address it on a case-by-case basis. We've had individual property owners install new systems. Typically, they may work for a little bit of time, but ultimately they don't work permanently. And we're back with them trying to figure out a better solution. Two instances, there's a restaurant in the area that has an old mechanical system that I was told had a catastrophic failure recently. They were able to repair it, but for a while there, it was touch and go. And then Wildwood Motors, formerly Pond Motors, they're on a pump and haul. They have no space for any type of treatment on site, given that much of the property is asphalt for the staging of vehicles for sale. So the situation is a mixed bag, but there is a public health and safety concern. Why it is before the committee tonight is based upon a conversation with Tracy and Robert Kelly. They are the owners of the land where Wildwood Motors is located. They also own several of the residential lots on Maple and Walnut Avenues. They are wanting to develop those lots with new residences. And they're talking about affordability in terms of those residences. But they know that the opportunity is limited without some type of solution to wastewater treatment. What the department advised them is that it would be glad to at least present it to this committee and get a feel, a temperature, gauge the interest. The city would not necessarily be starting from square one. We have a lot of the information. That information would just need to be updated. But we did, at the time in 2018, have a commitment from the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District to serve the area. We had two alternative plans. One was an 8-foot bury, the other was a 12-foot bury, meaning that a 12-foot bury of the sewer lines allows for a minimum of 2% slope so that gravity works. The 8-foot bury was basically a 1% slope, which is an optional, but the MSD accepted it given the cost components. So we would have to update those to understand the cost. I will probably tell you, it's gonna probably be double, given the way everything's gone with inflation and construction cost.
Double what it was last time.
That's my thought. We haven't
Got it.
we haven't even, so tonight, we have an interested set of property owners that own a number of lots in the area of Pond Historic District. We know that the Living Word Church and the Rockwood School District would prefer to be on public sewer. Their systems are big, they're expensive to maintain. We have places of worship and businesses that would benefit from public sanitary sewer as well. Well, the question before the committee tonight is, do you want to take the next step and at least start looking at, does MSD still honor their commitment? Can we go back to the engineering company and update those costs if MSD is willing to honor its commitment? And then come back and basically give you an update. Here's what we're talking about. MSD is a yes or no. And then the next step would be gauging the interest of the residents, but property owners in the area. Because as it's explained in the memorandum, MSD will not fund it. The city should not fund it. And for the most part, the state of Missouri has low interest loan programs. It's usually for existing utilities or municipalities that provide the service, neither of which, again, we meet. So do we take the next step and see if it's feasible to even consider it? Or do we just stop tonight?
Mr. Farmer.
So, I mean, outside of, I guess, getting updated numbers from the engineers, what does the city do reach out to these property owners to see if they're interested, just send them a letter or something?
That's what we did, Mr. Farmer, in 2018. It was really a joint team effort. Julia Jacqueline, who had been the liaison from the city on what we call the Manchester Road Corridor Group. Ryan Thomas, who was our administrator, Rick Brown and I, we basically worked together and we sent out information to the property owners and asked them to attend a open house we had at Walton Middle School. We got a fairly good turnout, but we also didn't get a majority of the property owners turnout. And then we also got a very negative response from the property owners at the open house.
So how many properties do the people that are directly asking for this own?
There is a list of properties. Unfortunately, it's not numbered, but generally speaking, it's like there's about 92 total acres, which probably is about 60 properties or so.
How many would they represent?
Pardon?
How many of those 60 would the people that are asking, showing interest in it?
Well, this is the old list, so I didn't take the time, because again, just asking if we should. They're not on the list. I think, well, they may be on for pond property.
Pond Elementary's on sewer, right?
Yes, they were part of the
Original.
original neighborhood improvement district.
So I'm just trying to think through the time. So when you guys went out and talked about this before, that the connection to the sewer line, which I'm assuming would be somewhere around pond or whatever the new houses are, was all that infrastructure there when we got the prices the first time, or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pond Elementary was on sewer, so that was the start point, and it would head west along Manchester Road. The accommodation the city was going to make is obviously administer the neighborhood improvement district if there was support, but also we were going to let the MSD use the right of way for the sewer easement or the sewer installation in lieu of trying to garner easements along Manchester Road from other property owners and then elsewhere.
Well, I mean, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I guess I would suggest there's no harm in asking people if it's something that they want. I mean, I know the big chief has struggled with that, and I talked to the people over it. My kids go to Wildwood Middle, and they've had some issues over there as well. So, I mean, I don't think there's any harm in asking. I would suggest whatever we look at doing, I think you mentioned an 8-foot or a 12-foot. I would, almost regardless of the price, I think we need to make sure that it's done right so that we're not having to look back at this and figure out something if it goes through. And I think there's, probably a number of people back in that area that are just not going to be real interested in this. And then, so I don't know, I mean, what does it take to do that? Do you need a majority of people? Do you need all of them? Do you need a
51%?
As I recall, and it's in the memorandum, and I apologize, I should.
Because that other, can't remember the name of it, but there's that white house that's like across from the mantle shop or whatever it is. My understanding is that,
That restaurant used to be.
Yeah.
On the end.
that the sewer there, which I don't know if it's the sewer, I don't think it's the sewer. I think it's like
It's
something
else, a
else.
septic system, but if they tried to cook in there, the dishwater fills the backyard up before they get dinner ready.
Right, so I mean, I think,
I
that,
mean, you had suds across everything back.
That must be an old system.
so I mean, I would imagine whoever owns that would probably be interested in it, because I don't know that much can be done at that place until that is
It
sold.
can't.
Well, there's an interesting story. A young lady and her husband, who was a doctor, purchased the Pond Inn and were going to reopen it as a restaurant. They took the initiative and along with Jerry Stricker and Scott Keller, were able to annex 3 of the properties at the intersection there into the district. That's why there's that kind of little blue island right at the intersection.
Mhm.
So they were about to move forward with that. And the young lady and her husband divorced, he was not financing the project any longer and it stalled. So that's when we kind of stepped in as well. So it's 2/3 of the owners of record of all real property located within the area of the proposed boundary. So 66, at least 66%.
And those folks that,
Yeah, go ahead.
is it my turn? Okay. And those folks that own multiple properties, their vote counts once for each property.
Yes.
So I had a couple of observations. First, I agree with Joe. If you're gonna do it right. And gravity feed, obviously that's the only way to go. But judging from your estimate that the cost would double, we're talking about a $5 million project, right? Something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. But my question really is, if there are people, and I can see it happening because it happens at like at the Ozarks, it happens everywhere there are older homes with older systems. It's not my problem, it's running on the neighbor's yard, right? I mean, really, and people are dumping literally raw sewage, you know, into estuaries, into other people's yards and all that kind of thing. And just because there's no odor doesn't mean there's not a serious health concern. My question to you is, the city is truly anemic when it comes to having any sort of, you know, recourse to take against people for all sorts of violations because of the state statute that limits fines to like $200 every 6 months. Well, people would rather do that than spend $20,000 on a septic system. And so my question to you is there any way under the auspices of public health to take a stronger action than just, okay, we're gonna spend a year or two sending you letters every so often and you're not gonna respond, and then we can fine you $200 and then you're done with the hassle for another year kind of thing?
Well, certainly, I don't want to criticize municipal court. They are bound by the state.
So I understand completely. I'm suggesting that public health should trump some of that.
There are some tools available to municipal court that we haven't yet exercised. And that's at the discretion of the prosecuting attorney as a recommendation to the municipal judge. What we're doing now, and this has just come about within the last probably 6 to 8 weeks, St. Louis County, through the county police department, has a problem properties unit, and we're actually starting to utilize them. They seem to have a little more authority, and
They roll up, a cop rolls up with a badge and people take that more seriously.
and their cases bypass our municipal court and go to either the county court or the associate or circuit court. So we've got 2 problem properties, the Nelly House off of Alton Road that continues to be just a nuisance to the residents in that area. And then some of you may not know, we've been maintaining a former skilled care facility on Sherrick Lane off of Ridge Road because it's a nuisance and the kids are in it all the time. And so we've got problem properties with the county now working on those 2, see if we actually can take the steps to basically either secure them or remove them.
And dumping raw sewage would fall under that rubric
Yes,
as
and
well.
that's
Problem.
we're starting to. We have the authority under our nuisance code to vacate property, meaning we can ask the residents to leave. There really hasn't been the stomach for it in
Yeah,
the city of
I know,
Wildwood.
but this is serious business.
Yeah, we've come to past councils years ago and basically said, here's the situation, we want to vacate. And the direction was work with them.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be nice. Everybody wants to be nice, but criminally.
If you can work with them, but only to a point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that was the past direction. I'm not saying that's the current or what may be the future. We have that home on St. Albans Road, Highway T, where we've been working on for a year to address the septic system that's failed. We've written a number of summonses.
Yeah.
The
Problem solved.
municipal court, they've been dismissed. So we just keep writing summonses. We'll keep doing it until we find success.
How in the world did they get dismissed? I mean, property rights only go so far. I mean,
But the property owner keeps saying we're just a month away from fixing.
Yeah, oh,
it.
yeah, right, sure, yeah.
So, guess getting back. There are mechanisms, there are tools to solve untreated sewage effluent being discharged into the environment. Those tools require sometimes harsh actions that could be considered by our residents. And then there's always the publicity associated with them. So we do our best to work through it and try to find solutions. The best solution is public sanitary sewer in undersized lots, poor soil conditions, perched water tables, low to moderate income areas. So that's what the department is seeking, just direction tonight. Do we take the next step and say, okay, how much does it really cost now? Is MSD still willing to extend that boundary that they agreed to years ago? And if those two things come back and at least seem reasonable, then I would say the next step is let's ask the property owner. Because they're gonna have to have something in the game, so to speak.
So sounded like you want, from what I was hearing, MSD is a yes or a no. And then the second piece would be residents, yes or no. Are you
Well,
wanting,
Let's see how much it costs first,
okay,
because if it's a $10 million project on 90 lots, that's not, I think I know the answer.
Well, you had 2.5 mil for the 12-foot bury, which is what we want. If you double that, that's 5 mil. And if you calculate it out, that's like what, 55 grand per lot times 90. And if you amortize that over 20 years, or maybe even if there's a 30-year note possibility or something like that, people are paying a couple grand a year for that service. And sewage service, I mean, the sewer, I don't know what it costs in town, but do you guys pay sewer? Because I used to pay it.
Yeah, it's not,
It doubled this last year.
It's negligible.
but I mean, it's still not.
Is it like what, $50 a month or something like that?
60 and 60.
Okay, so it'd be,
There used to be 25, 27, but
Yeah.
then it was,
it's still,
when I moved 8 years ago, it was 35, and then it's doubled.
okay, so it'd be
About 70, yeah, I try my best.
couple times more or several times more than that,
$70
but
a month.
they don't have to pay for a $30,000 septic system that they can't fit on their lot. So, okay, all right, okay. So it's feasible. I'd vote we do it. I mean, you gonna make a motion, Joe?
So I mean, I was gonna make the motion to, talk to MSD, figure out the general costs, and then we can, divide that up and figure out what that is. But I would also, maybe separately, I don't probably need to be with this, but I do think it would be worthwhile for us as a city to try to set up a very clear line of demarcation where we have worked, this is a real public safety issue. We've worked to do this. And whether that means that, we have to have a different level of intervention from the police or whatever it is. I mean, we've talked about this with some other properties over in Ward 3 where, very quickly, there's going to be a lot of properties that are close enough to these sewer lines where they're gonna have to pay a really substantial amount of money to connect to them. So I think as a city, we need to try to get as in front of that problem as we can, because it is going to be a real rude awakening for a whole lot of people.
Can you provide a summary information on that, the problem properties task force unit, whatever the heck you called it? It would be handy to know that.
I just think in general, I just think for you guys, because I know that you're pulled in and, the code enforcement guys do the best that they can, but they're just, I think if you just had a process to be like, look, we've hit this point where this is beyond our means now, this is gonna go, it goes to the problem properties folks and let them handle it.
There is a nominal cost to that, but I think the cost is well worth. the
Well, if you
focus.
figure out though how much time it takes you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
and-
yeah,
and
it's
Frank and
offloading.
everybody else to go out and do it, it's going to cost us less money to do that than it is.
So,
Mr. Farmer made the motion to talk to MSD about the cost. Do you want to add the second piece?
Yeah, so the cost, so talk to MSD on whether they're gonna do it yes whether they're still willing to do it, yes or no. Let's talk to the engineers about the general cost, I think at the 12-foot deep level. And then, I mean, I would just suggest come back. If they say yes and we have a number, then we can real quickly go, okay, well, it's gonna be, you know, whatever it is per property. And then, you know, if there's nothing wrong with asking or, you know, putting a little sign out there with a QR code that takes them to something that explains what's going on. Because I think it's also important for people to understand, you know, how many parcels there are, how many of those parcel owners need to get signed on. And then the inevitable conclusion of, you know, people that don't sign on, then what happens and how that all works. Like, I just wanna lay that all out.
So I was buying a car, this is decades ago, and it's the guy in the cubicle next to me, I heard him say, thankfully, I still chuckle about it. He said, I don't care how much it costs, I wanna know how much a month it is.
Yeah.
And so we need to tell, we need to tell
Yeah.
the folks, it's gonna cost you this much, you know, per month
good
or
sale.
whatever, because these are working class people and they don't have a lot of money, but if it's reasonable and it saves them, you know, from trying to finance a $30,000 system, it might go over more, it might be more palatable. So that's just word to the wise.
Okay, do I have a second to the
I'll
motion or?
This is
is that a-
discussion. I'm happy
Okay.
to second, but I
Okay.
have some questions. So in the records you have from 2018, do we know the people that were no's? Do we know the people that were yeses from the individual residents?
I'll have to check the file. I didn't find it on my.
Yeah, I'd just be curious, if we had it, how many of those people have moved? Because then if suddenly you've got 60% changing there, then it is a really then whatever that number is, how many of these lots do these people that are asking about doing it? I mean, I hate to see us go through all the work if we could do a little number crunching and identify whether there's new people living, and if you don't know, that's fine too, but
It's an easy search and I think Ms. Rupito with the GIS can do it.
because then you'd know the actual numbers. You'd say, okay, there's 90 lots, 40 were in favor of it, but of those 40 or of those 90, 60 of them have changed ownership. And then look at the other one I was gonna ask you is the batch plant or the concrete plant, and then the car, there were some problems with the car lot because the water runoff was not going in the ground. And I just remember over the years, that was always a problem with them. With wherever that water was running wasn't going any place that it should have gone. So those would be uses that I would think would be, they probably would really like to have that, so they're not, messing it up.
Yeah, and I did check the list real quickly. Mark Vaughn is the owner of Pond Motors at the time we did the last proposal. Now, that's been purchased by Mr. and Mrs. Kelly, so
Sorry.
there have been property transfers over the course of the last 8 years.
On that one across the street, whatever that old garage or whatever it
Yeah.
was, that changed hands a couple years ago, if I remember
Yeah.
right.
So
There's been a
Joey
lot.
Wilcox, she's still there, right?
And so, and obviously now, Laura Jones, R.L. Jones Properties own the pond end, and so they've been talking about sewer for a while. Initially, when it was the young lady, and her husband, that were looking at it, was like $500,000. I think they were thinking now it was like 700 or some odd thousand, so we'll get some estimates. I appreciate you wanting to at least explore it. I think there's a benefit to be trying again, but I just don't hold out a lot of hope that the cost is
No,
gonna
it's
be.
not gonna get cheaper.
Mr. Rambo?
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
but
have
if
an
it's
comment?
again, if it's 50 grand divided equally, there are some of these larger places that would pay significantly greater fraction, right? Because they have 20 bathrooms or something like that. How does that calculation work? I mean, is there just a basic formula like number of bathrooms in a home? Or is it like square footage of the lot, or how does that work?
I think it's the size of the lot.
Okay, so some of these properties are,
So like last time, Rockwood School District and Living Word Church, they covered a lot of the.
yeah, that's what I'm
So
thinking.
We're counting on that again, that Rockwood School District would step forward and say, yes, we'll pay our share. We actually asked them to pay a little more because there was more of a benefit to them in many ways.
Yeah, so it could be 20 or 30 for the individual homeowners, that's the cost of the septic system.
Any
Okay,
more,
thank you.
okay, any more comments
We'll
before
we'll do
we?
that calculation. And also Pride didn't make the contact, but MDNR has a local office in St. Louis. I'd like them to come and maybe talk about some of those low interest programs, if there's any applicability. If I'm able at the July meeting, if it's okay with the chair, MDNR can be here, they'd be helpful. Assist in the conversation.
Any other comments before we vote? Okay, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstained? A motion passed. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Mayor's Grove relocation. It's Mr. Hoonage again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, as you know, several years ago, when we were about to initiate the phase one project, we had a bit of a issue in that to make phase one of Village Green functional, we had to remove our existing trash enclosure and relocate it somewhere. The simple solution was to relocate it from the west side of the parking lot to the east side of the parking lot. Simple relocation. The committee authorized the preparation of an RFP. The RFP was advertised and our simple little trash enclosure was $115,000 to replicate.
So ridiculous.
Where people could live in it.
I know.
The committee immediately rejected all of that and charged the department and the city administrator to find a solution. So we looked at different locations around City Hall and ultimately settled on the terminus of Wildwood Avenue. We did another RFP and this time cost was $56,000 and we proceeded forward. All of that means that we didn't need to relocate the Mayor's Grove. The traffic closure wasn't going there. Saying that, we did talk about moving the Mayor's Grove over to Village Green Phase One. And I still think that's a good idea. And so tonight, the department is basically asking the committee, although we wouldn't remove the trees on the side slope area, but we would remove the base and the plaques and relocate them over to the standard trees in Village Green Phase One. The benefits, I think, are as follows. There's more expansion room in Village Green. As you know, we've kind of filled up that little flat area at the edge of the sidewalk. Any further trees will be planted on the slope for all intents and purposes. So that's a problem unto itself. And then secondly, if we move it to Village Green Phase One, blocking it with vehicles that park there. So there'll actually be a increase in visibility. The side benefit, the item number 3 is we have so many people that go into Village Green now on a regular basis. They'll be able to actually see who are the mayors and the acknowledgement of their service to the city. So the department is seeking direction from the committee about potentially just moving those 5 or so bases and plaques over to Village Green. Before we would do that, we would select the area, identify the trees, their species, Mike Walsh, and then come back to committee in July with the layout and see what you all think.
Mr. Rambo.
yeah, it's a good spot that you identified on your document there. And I walked over there and looked at the trees. Most of them are in pretty good shape already, and there's a couple that probably gonna need replacement. They're exotic species or interesting species and whatnot. So, and they're, each one was unique that I looked at. And so no mayor can say, well, mine's mundane and so on and so forth. You know, they're nice. And the existing plantings up there, they were in bad shape and somebody replaced a couple of the trees, I guess, a year or two ago. I haven't looked at it in a while, but
Couple
yours
of
is
them
thriving. You're kind of bashful there. You're
Yeah, I
back
know.
there in the.
I used to get updates from Glenn Gailey or something. They talk about, we were over by your tombstone today. Thank you.
So my question though was.
I died.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a cheap move and it's a good idea and it is more visible and it's, recognizes past mayors and, we can still leave those other trees over there. There's a couple magnolias, one of them's blooming, it's looking real nice. And, so I love it. We kind of killed two birds with one stone. We got landscaping there. Now we got some new stuff. But, my question is, those tombstones are, how much will they encumber moving around and circulation and so on and so forth over there in that new spot? Because that's like there's gonna be a lot of people wanting to sit there, your concerts and stuff in the future. Have you thought about that? Or is there a way to like put them closer to the trees or, what do you think?
Well, the advantage we have now, over when we started the Mayor's Grove and then Mayor Boland finished with the remaining mayors themselves, he now needs one as well, is that we have Mike Walsh. We didn't have him at the time. And I would depend almost entirely on Mr. Walsh to select the general tree types and how close we can put them to the trees themselves.
I was suggesting we could do some of the existing trees, just put them, here's the
That's
here's
what
the
I mean.
tombstones, that's what you're suggesting.
Just like what trees here, what are the healthiest ones? What are the nicest ones that you think would be reflective of the service the mayor's provided? I let Mike make that decision.
Boland's is a sycamore. I mean, that's mundane. And I mean, in 20 years, it'll be dwarfing the others and they're a mess and so forth. And so I don't know did the mayors get to choose their trees?
They did. We
Did they?
gave them the option.
Okay,
and we
cut
would-
that off.
That's a decision.
That's not part of it. That's not.
I
part of
requested
deal.
the one that,
Cut
the
that
one
off.
that dropped all the crap in the yards and stuff, and Ryan, that you couldn't have that one.
That's sycamores are like that too, but,
I have no
Boland's
idea.
it's listing to starboard.
It'd be the newest
We'll
one.
we'll fix the list. I promise.
Yeah, pull that one over, but, other than that, I think it's a great idea and it's cheap. Why the heck not? Why wouldn't we do it? So I would make that motion.
We had a volunteer that said, Mr. Van Ness said he would move them for us, so I told him I would
The
help. him.
trees or the
The
tombstones?
tombstones, the markers, not the tombstones.
Plaques. Bases, plaques.
Okay, I'll drop the
Bases.
tombstone thing, but
Plaques.
so it was introduced to me.
Humor, Mr. Gailey.
Spend money. we have
So we're tombstone today, it's looking pretty good, turned up real nice.
So I'll make that motion if nobody else wants to.
Mr. Rambo and Ms. Megan second. Any other discussion? All in favor of moving the markers and the bases and the
Plaques.
plaques to phase one of Village Green?
Aye.
Favor? Any opposed? Abstain? Thanks. Okay, next, we have Mr. Vunich is going to talk to us about the clock at Lindell Bank.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, as you know, at our last meeting, the department presented a proposal between the city and Lindell Bank for the city to assume responsibility of the post clock that's at the northeast corner of the intersection of State Route 109 and New College Avenue. The committee identified several items that it wanted to be addressed before a decision was made. And so the department has been working on those items over the course of the last month. Principally though, I have good news. Those items was, can you fix the clock? And they did. So the clock now is keeping accurate time, and the solution was as simple as going in and basically switching from daylight savings time to not daylight savings time. And it seems to work fine now.
Beautiful.
So the other item was just how it was metered. And it is metered into the bank building itself. And as you know, we're having that discussion, both at Administration and Public Works and last night at Economic Development Committee, about how to manage those streetlights that are metered into the businesses and not to the public right of way or utility easements. And so tonight, the department is asking that we take no action, whether to reject the offer or not. And let's see how this metering component with our streetlights come out. The direction last night at Economic Development Committee, which Mr. Cummer was there, was let's get in some cost estimates from our electrician, Authorized Electric, see what it costs, see where we can place it, see if Ameren has any ideas. And so I think as we work through that, we might find either that this isn't worth doing or it's worth doing because we can package it with the rest or whatever the situation might be. But it is working now, good news. And for tonight, the department is requesting no action on this item until we get a little further along in the other.
Very good with that? Okay, next, temporary lease agreement.
Can I ask a question about?
Sure.
So, it's very complimentary to the main, signal lights and stuff at Taylor and Main Street and so on and so forth. I mean, it looks, it's kind of ties the city together from end to end. So I have no real objection to its location, but I did ask that, I mean, it'd be great to put it in a more prominent spot. If they're gonna give us the dang thing anyway, we could put it here on the corner by City Hall or by the Village Green. Did you explore that, or is that just kind of a
I
dry?
actually forgot that question, and I'll make that part of my next contact.
I mean, it might cost 10 grand to move it, and that'd be a kind of a
That would take care
non-starter,
of the
but
electric too.
Yeah,
You have to
sure
do all
would.
electric.
yeah, but I mean, I love that. I mean, it's really, it's pow, but it, not so much where it is now because it's behind us as a
Yeah.
street light.
It'd be nice to have it
Wasn't
here.
in the right
It'd be great to have it,
I
a
thought
prominent
for
view.
sure it was in the right of way.
And I was
I
able
saw-
to find.
yeah, I saw the
the
letters.
paperwork. The state requires sidewalks to be outside the right of way, but in a public easement. And so we basically asked then Jim Bodar, he said, sure, you can have it there. It's outside the right of way and in an easement. Have at it.
It's also a surprise it hasn't been hit yet.
Yeah, it would diminish that intersection a little bit, but it would improve this hyper-local area immensely. And it's a great asset for the city, and we could figure out some way to
The
keep
great
it.
work. I think it's good.
So while we wait on solutions relating to metering public improvements to the right of way versus inside the building, I'll ask the question
Great.
as well.
Thank you very much.
Temporary lease agreement for the JP Connell House, Mr. Bootage.
Thank you again. And I'll explain. Melanie will be presenting some of the information tonight. She was on vacation last week. So the packet was prepared. Much of it was done by Mr. Newberry and I. So my apologies.
Who's following Route 66? Vacation.
Yes, he did the route.
So I want you to see my Route 66 shirt.
I love it.
We were in Pennsylvania. Get this, we're in Pennsylvania. My wife needed an Apple phone adapter thing. So I go into Walmart. Now, you couldn't get further from Route 66 than Pittsburgh. And I walk in, it's like $6. So I come back and they were selling them last year at Wildwood Days. It was just like $65. You gotta be kidding me. Well, yours probably is made in China.
So you got a trunk load of them?
No, I-
This is the year to sell that truckload.
So we were at a trivia contest the other night and we were trying to say how many states and how long it was. And I said to my wife tonight, I said, why didn't you look at my shirt? It said the 8 states, the mileage, the shortest state is Kansas. And everything was right there and didn't even realize it. So, but anyway,
You're a good company this year, though. So, Madam Chair and members of the committee, since January, Department of Planning has been providing the city council as well as, to a degree, the committee updates relating to the JP Connell House. As part of the memorandum tonight, we have the benefit of a great deal of research that's been conducted by the Wildwood Historical Society and Robin Keefe, the Historic Preservation Planner here at the city of Wildwood. As you can see, the Connell family had quite a history in this area, and that history is somewhat reflected in the home that was constructed where they live. Mr. Connell was involved in the mining and timbering of what is now Lockwood's Reservation. And much of that material, the wood and the stone, went to the city of St. Louis as it grew to almost 800,000 by 1970. However, Mr. Connell passed, the house went on to the market, and St. Albans Properties purchased the property, 14 acres in the house, with the intent of eventually having a commercial node at Route 100 and Highway T to serve their development in eastern Franklin County. Little did they realize that Wildwood would incorporate a dream of commercial on every.
No gas station.
Yeah, a gas station. So they held it for a long period of time, and to their benefit and with much respect, they maintained the property and the home relatively well until recent years. And I don't know if it's a coincidence that when Mr. Novelli passed and the ownership of the development and the properties went to others. I don't know if that was the cause or what. As you know, over the course of time, St. Albans Properties requested a demolition permit to remove J.P. Connell House. That was denied by our Historic Preservation Commission. And ultimately, we were able to delay it while we tried to find a solution with St. Albans Properties. We didn't. In the 11th hour on the doorstep of the cliff, the Grueys, Christine and Terry Gruey, purchased the property from St. Albans Properties and came immediately to Historic Preservation Commission stating they would like to preserve it, but they needed incentives to do that. So tonight, there's two components to the presentation. First, as we've talked, there is a request from the Grueys for the city to enter into a temporary lease agreement for a term of no more than 6 months, which would eliminate two concerns they have. First and foremost, the liability associated with a vacant home, a large parcel of property in a rural area. They're afraid, as they have stated multiple times, that somebody getting onto the property or going into the house to do vandalism or no good would be injured and they would be liable regardless of the trespass component. So a short-term lease, and that lease is before you tonight. Secondly, and I think more importantly, the Historic Preservation Commission has rolled up its sleeves on 2 occasions, the April and May meetings, and came up with basically a preliminary incentive package. Incentives in Wildwood is not property tax breaks, tax credits, whatever it may be, it's land use. And so the property divides somewhat into two pieces. There's a creek, a drainage tributary that cuts across it from an east to west or west to east direction. North of it, there's 4 acres, south of it, 10 acres. The Historic Preservation Commission recommended that J.P. Connell House, which is on the north 4 acres of the site, be placed on a 3-acre lot, and they be able to have an additional acre lot. So an extra lot is the first incentive. On the remaining 10 acres, the group commission recommended light industrial to light commercial, or some type of not high density housing, but medium density housing, maybe focused on seniors, 55 and older, etc. The incentive package hasn't gone any further than the commission, now the committee, what you've been receiving in city council. We've not done anything with the community in the vicinity of the site. So that's an important qualification. The commission members have basically said, we know no one in the community out in that area is going to like it. They understand that. But their focus has been on preserving the J.P. Connell House. So tonight, the department's first question is, if the incentive package does move forward, you as part of the city council believe it has any legs to stand on? It's a tough question, but if we, as the legislative body, the city council isn't going to entertain incentives, then we really don't need to enter into the temporary lease. Because we'd be spending taxpayers' money with no real outcome, no real favorable outcome in the future. So tonight, asking your opinions, what do you think? Is incentives an option that you would consider if we can tailor it such so it's so tight, so fixed that we know we're getting something that can work there? Or is it just too much, as they say, a bridge too far?
Thoughts? Mr. Farmer?
I mean, I really appreciate history and historical things like I do, but I think that that's, unless you're gonna open that up to every historical place around town, I think that's a pretty slippery slope to go down. And while certainly this is an important property and I respect the people that have tried to care for it, there's part of owning properties like this that mean that that's what you're doing. Like in my previous life, we represented a lot of the very cool old homes down in the Central West End and in the city. And, there were people that were paying $1 million a year just to keep the house up. And they thought that that was a great honor, that they were able to care for an old property like that and be part of that story. That's not to say that these folks aren't willing to do that. But I think that, having driven out there, there's not a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's not a lot going on out there, and maybe some people would really love to have something. But what I mean is there's not a lot like commercial stuff going on. Like, there's not like a gas station on every corner, that kind of stuff. And I think that doesn't really fit with what's going on in that space. So I mean, I just think that is opening a pretty big can of worms. And I would say the same thing even about I was gonna ask about the lease, like, I get it, but aren't we then taking the responsibility of somebody? So it's just, I get it, but for me, I think that would be a lot to ask for that.
So if we didn't give any incentives, what, in other words, I purchased the property not knowing if they were going to get any incentives or what was gonna happen with it. What will happen with it? What are their plans if they don't get any incentives?
Mr. Gruey's plans have changed over the course of the last 6 months. But I think the consistent component of his plans is if no incentives are offered, the first thing they'll do is remove the JP Connell House because it is a liability and a risk to them. Thereafter, he raises cattle out on Pond Road. He needs additional pasture. So his initial conversation with the Historic Preservation Commission was, I'll bring cattle to the property and use it for pasture for an interim period until something better comes along. The benefit to him is as pasture and cattle on the pasture, he'll get an agricultural assessment for the 14 acres and pay a nominal fee in terms of property tax. Mr. Farmer, with the permission of the chair, there is a component there I should have probably mentioned, and I'm glad you identified it in your response. There are probably, and this has been discussed at a Historic Preservation Commission, and Dr. Rambo can affirm this. There's probably only about 4 or 5 other properties that raise to the level that JP Connell House. And I say that because those are the properties that have been identified either by Esley Hamilton, the Farmer County historian that worked for their Department of Parks and Recreation, or our assessments by the experts that have done the inventory for our survey. Those are properties that could be on the National Register. Other than that, we're really not looking at other.
I would just say, however, I mean, it doesn't matter if there's 10 or if there's 3, like whatever it is. I think if we're gonna go down that road, we need to extend to those places the same thing. Because if the idea is, we really like this house, we think it's important, it's going to be restored properly. And in order to do that, they have to put a nice looking gas station and convenience store or whatever it is they want to put out there. Great, but I think that there's a risk to just you know, well, it could be this, it could be that. We don't really know what it could be. And that to me just seems like a big ask.
And that's been the hardest part with Mr. Grew, is kind of tying him down to, well, what would you want there? And Dr. Rambo's been at those meetings.
Yeah, this is, you guys are coming in like way late in the game. So you have the questions that we asked months ago, and it's frustrating because it has kind of been like nailing jello to a wall, quite honestly. And, but, the request that they seem to be making, I mean, they wanted to put an apartment building there at one point, so it's been all over the map, but the request they seem to be making is light commercial that you access off of Old Manchester, because it's to a V 100 and Old Manchester, and entering and exiting that parcel from Old Manchester seems like a reasonable approach to me, because there's 50 years of trees that have grown up around the entire perimeter, and it's really well screened. And so if there's something like a, office, low-riding office complex, or as Joe suggested, senior living, a few villas or something like that, it could be an amenity that people wouldn't complain about. I think the housing is better than out there, just because it plays better than an office complex of any kind. But I could see it being a boon to the community out there, because it will be hidden, be a few more folks, one more housing option in Wildwood, which, we don't have a whole lot of those other than the place over by the YMCA, as far as I know. So it could work. And the question is the council going to have any stomach for it? Because this could be an expensive renovation. We can't afford it. These folks, if we give them the relief that they're looking for, maybe they'll fund it. It's hard to read whether this guy would pay for it or not. It's a lot of money, but he seems to have that. And, in exchange for getting what he wants, maybe he would. And so I would suggest to you, Joe, they're not making any more properties for the National Historical Register. And the National Historical Register, if we have 4 in Wildwood remaining, I'll be surprised. And a couple of them are big ones, like retreat centers and so on and so forth. And so probably there might be 1 or 2 other houses. Joe, is that accurate?
Yes.
So we're not talking about a huge effort, a huge impact on the community if we let the camel's nose under the tent and then suddenly we got 50 properties screaming about it, because it's just not that way. And Joe, I don't know the condition of the other properties you're referring to that would potentially qualify, but they might be in better shape than this one, and so there's not a problem for the city.
The one on track right now is the LaSalle Retreat Center. That's going to be to the Development and Zoning Review Committee probably by the end of this month or the beginning of July. They need incentives, but their plan is to preserve all of the historic assets and then fund that preservation effort through adaptive reuse of the buildings to other things than a retreat center. It'll stay a retreat center, part of it. And then the surrounding properties, let's say the remaining 160 acres, some type of housing at a greater density than 1 unit per every 3 acres. So it's a question that's going to come back to you quickly. Here, it's just a single asset. There, it's LaSalle Institute.
So you can't, I get maybe this is a question for John, I don't know. I'm, or you might know this, Joe, or Ed, I guess. I don't know how legally we make an arrangement that says, we will give you this change, but you have to update this or fix it to our specific standards. Because I'm not saying it would happen, but things happen and all of a sudden that house is not able to be kept up or whatever it is. And now that door has been opened. Like, I don't know how I don't think that there is a way that the city can legally do that.
The mechanism is the historic land use category of the master plan, which can only be applied to properties that are on the local register. And as the local register, the nomination and the process, there's an ordinance. So you set the requirements. And it could be, you have to maintain the house to an acceptable property maintenance standard for 30 years. And if you don't, here's the penalty. You refund all of the incentives or all of the money so I don't know how it works. We've only done one, and it's Westland Acres, and that was pretty straightforward because they just wanted to do 1 acre density
Right.
on the 50+ acres that's in Wildwood. It was straightforward.
I just know, and it's a little bit of a side quest, I guess, but like they were talking, you guys talked about an EDC and they talked about an admin, this lighting issue with some of these buildings. So my understanding is these buildings were built with the understanding that those lights were going to be tied to the building. And now they're not, or they won't, or they might not, or whatever it is. So I'm just saying, well, we might make a decision that seems really good right now. In 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, all of a sudden somebody goes, I don't care if you have that thing or not.
Oh, this thing is laced with layers of risk. I acknowledge that. That's why we're here now, before we get too far along. Because up to this point, you've been getting reports, but they've been generally for information and only one for action. And it was just to go forward and get the lease.
Yeah.
We're at that point now, though. Yes, and I will tell you, again, I got a big mouth of late, so I'll be cautious here. But, the streetlights for the businesses, that's the cost of the zoning.
Right.
There was no question. They were required to light those because that was part of the zoning process. The fact that we're arguing that they don't have to, they were glad to do it because they got the zoning they wanted and could build the building they wanted and move forward with the project. I don't think we made a mistake. It's just we're looking back.
I don't think that we did either, and based on what I read, we didn't, but that, my concern is this, like, I think the argument for that is this owner is saying, well, I didn't agree to that, I just bought the property. So if we do that and that can happen with, there's plenty of developments where somebody builds something with every great intention and then they go, you know what, my great intention is to retire, so I'll see you later. And then they sell it to somebody else.
Here's the slippery slope. Eventually, if we rescue these businesses, I would expect a lot of subdivisions where we require streetlights and they make the HOA pay for them.
I can tell you, I
20
I paid-
streetlights.
I pay- I pay almost $40,000 a year for my streetlights. I would love for the city to pay for that.
So that's the slippery slope, because we're saying in those ordinances, you have to have streetlights and you have to maintain them and operate them. Same thing we did to the businesses.
So I will say this, and Rob, I will say this because I know you guys worked hard on this. Like, I am appreciative that they came up with like a unique, good, it is a solid idea. I just don't know if it is. I don't know that it is as solid as it can be, just simply based on the factors that we as a city don't have perhaps as much as control of things as we might like to have.
So I hear you and I feel you. It's more a matter of, is the city willing to spend any money? And it's kind of, at this point, it feels like throwing good money after bad because it's I kind of feel like the place is gonna get knocked down no matter what we do, but I'm looking back at the Marianist and that was a tragedy. I mean, it was just really, truly a tragedy. That place was spectacular. It was gorgeous. It was unique. And it was, an integral part of this community for a century. And now it's a pile of rubble. Well, it's sod or something now.
It's just a
And-
grass area.
Yeah. And this place, the fact that it's sort of the twin in construction technique with Pond Schoolhouse, a couple miles away and, eligible for, the National Historic Register. I'm compelled by one of my other jobs as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission to argue in favor of trying to preserve it. But I hear you. It's just.
I mean, I would almost say much like, and I wasn't around when we took on the Pond Schoolhouse, but to me, with a lot of these things, and the Marianus thing could have been one of those things as well, like, if there's an asset that is in your city that is important to enough people, then, you know, if you wanna keep it the way that it should be, in my opinion, it should be, how much does it cost the city to purchase that property and an acre or whatever it takes around it? Let the guy put his cows on it or whatever it is he wants to do, and we take on that responsibility and figure out what it takes. I'm not saying I'm in favor of doing that necessarily, because we don't
That's
have
the
the numbers.
suggestion. That's the proposal on the table is doing just that.
Well, the proposal right now is to take on a lease for a short period of time
months.
and then change the zoning to let these guys.
While we work it out, right? Well, right. I mean, that's the intent and the upshot of what we're.
As we morphed or evolved the conversation with Mr. Christine Gruey and Terry Gruey, Mr. Gruey keeps saying, eventually this is gonna be yours. His long-term vision isn't that they'll do a bed and breakfast or do something. This isn't in their wheelhouse.
Right.
But I don't know when that is. Is that 30 years? Well, maybe, I don't know. So, but as I say, I just don't wanna get us into a lease agreement, make all these steps to stabilize and secure the building. And then ultimately, like has happened when we had a proposal down in the Glencoe area, it just blow up in everybody's face. And the property owners, then the Gunthers, they had acquired 20 lots and they were stuck with them then. And they started renting them out and then they became problem properties. And so I just want to avoid that for all of us.
Thoughts, Mr. Marshall?
So breaking it into the 4 acres, leaving the house on the 3, the 1 other acres, they're gonna build a new house there then? And you kind of answered it. What is their intent to do with the old house then? I mean, I remember going through it and it's incredible, but I also know through my brother-in-law that the St. Albans got rid of it because they couldn't keep it safe, you know, and they didn't want the risk, and their business is not to try to keep something that costs more to maintain than what they could do with the property. So any ideas what it would be used for? I mean, bed and breakfast, I get that part, that's not.
The renovation, so the commitment was they would restore, rehabilitate and reuse. And one of the options is Kelp might move their offices over there and use the building for that. Because they're in an old house now.
Oh, okay.
But it's just an old ranch. I mean, it's nothing.
And I think they're outgrowing that, or they need additional space. So, but it's been hard, and I don't blame the Grueys, this is new to them, just to nail them down on. But any proposal that ultimately moves forward would have to include, you can't just renovate it and then let it fall into disrepair. There has to be a use in it.
Well, we can't even do a bed and breakfast there, can we? Under our ordinances, I mean, that's a short-term rental and.
In the non-urban, with 3 acres or more, you can do a conditional use permit for a bed and
Or a B and B.
Yeah.
What about like, so Airbnb or all that kind of stuff, that's,
Yeah, somebody could do it.
okay.
But you gotta go across the road and you're gonna have those 15 new houses, $1 million houses going up on the left-hand side of St. Albans Road.
Yep.
Lombardo stuff.
I love the kelp idea. I didn't know about that, but that's just ideal. I mean.
I was
they-
gonna ask how
they would be
noisy it would
respectful.
be there, because I mean, Kelp is right on top of that. I mean, that's the other side of the street. Is the salt sheds right there.
So
It seems well screened to me. Don't you feel like it's?
very
fairly-
much so.
Yeah.
I liken it, if you drive down Route 100 South toward Franklin County, you know, we did the subdivision West Eden. And there's 12 lots on the 66 acres. We protected that area, that strip along Route 100. You really don't even know there's a new development there. And I kind of see this as that. We would screen it, so at least on Route 100, no one would know. And across the street, as you know, on the north is Kelp, so I don't know if we have to be as worried there. And then there's the old Manchester Road, which Dr. Rambos described very well.
There's a post office and 2 homes across from that parcel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And then the rest of it, I mean, there's an entrance to the park that they don't use. Maybe they would open that up.
You may have said this, but for this lease, this has been something that the attorney for the city has reviewed and said it's an okay to proceed kind of concept.
Mr. Young got it on May 29th. I talked to him today. His crew is reviewing it, but they've had some vacations and things, and he was apologizing, but I told him, no, we need the nuts and bolts on the lease. It's more about the incentives. We're not going to do it. We don't need the lease. So I guess
I don't
it's a
know,
tough question to ask you on one night. I guess what I would
I'm
kind
struggling
of
myself.
conclude the discussion, maybe take no action. I'll take back to Mr. Gruey your concerns. And
I just think, I'm gonna, I mean, my guess would
make a
be.
motion, please.
I think taking no I mean, I might suggest taking, I would suggest maybe taking no action, but I would say, like, in more than likely, unless you came with like a pretty serious, like, Kelp's gonna move over here, and this is like, my guess is, just based on how everything else seems to go, you're gonna get people coming out of the woodwork to complain about something that they don't understand because we don't even know what it's gonna be yet. And so I think that you would have, I mean, I'm just one vote. I just think you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be like, I don't know if this is something we wanna do, only because we don't have the full vision of what it could be. I mean, if Kelp can move over there and we can, that makes a lot of sense. But I think you gotta be pretty clear on that stuff, or, these owners need to be pretty clear, and then we need to be pretty honest that this is what they're clear on today. They own the property, so they have every right to change their mind when they want to.
Our job collectively is to, if they do decide to change their mind and we don't like it, we don't let it happen.
Well, it's a process and we gotta roll the bones at some point or we just fold, one of the two, right? Because there's no way to get Kelp to commit to a fallen down house that's structurally sound but takes, $250,000 of renovation without any clarity. And there's a lot of tension there. And so the question is, do we feel lucky at?
So on the remaining 10 acres, I'm sure it's a really small list of things that they could possibly put in there. And I guess that's one of those areas that would probably make it a little bit easier to understand. If you're not going to be able to do, unless you could do, 10 villas or something. But other than that, I don't think that like the industrial or commercial stuff would be a very good option.
I saw some sketches though, wasn't there a sketch or two?
Steve Scott, who's the advisor to the HPC, he came up with a sketch plan. I've been hesitant to circulate it because the Ruiz weren't necessarily supportive of it. They were wanting to lean more toward commercial, light industrial. And ultimately, that was the action of the commission. Either one or the other. If it is residential, it's at a half-acre density.
If you think about it, there's so much office space available to
Mhm.
put new offices there.
It's a
There's no
non-starter.
traffic.
You're right.
There's no traffic.
You're right.
There, so that would just be a really hard sell, I think. For even an investor. I mean, I know they have more money than they need, but I think that something more comparable might be, I think you could make an exception for some villas, maybe some more affordable housing in that area. That might work, because you're not gonna have a lot of traffic,
Could be a win-win-win.
yeah,
Really good.
but I don't know, I mean, that would be option versus putting cattle on it.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing at this point is that the group is not feeling real strongly about or with any action tonight without more clarity. Am I correct?
I'll
Can
do
we
my
leave it
best to
at
have
that?
something.
What is Kelp, like, what is their facility? Is that light industrial? What is that?
Well,
They just have like trucks and stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
it's,
How many acres is that?
it's now legal non-conforming because of the Cities Board of Adjustment, which took action in 2002. But the master plan was wanting to basically take away the non-conforming component, and they made a recommendation that it would be still not urban residential area, but there would be an exception for Kelp's property. And we did that for Mr. Brown down at the end of West Avenue, because he's sandwiched between West Ridge Oaks the commercial area in New College Avenue and all the development around them being suburban or town center. We gave him an exception in the suburban that gave him basically, instead of 1 unit for every 3 acres, 2 units for every 3 acres. So 1.5 per acre. So we've done it in the past and that's what the group's gonna recommend. And that's coming your way here in this, at the end of summer.
All right.
Okay, if everybody's okay, then we'll go ahead and move forward since.
Thank you for the conversation. It was very helpful. I appreciate it.
It is a neat house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next is recent development trends within the city of Wildwood. I think that's gonna be Ms. Ripto and Mr. Footage.
If there's any questions regarding any of the updates on the development proposals, the authorizations, Ms. Ripito is ready to get into them.
Still on vacation.
Any questions on that? Okay, let's move forward to Parks Matters, and the first is Village Green Phase 2 engineered plan for all-inclusive playground. And that's Mr. Vunich.
Thank you again. Madam Chair and members of the committee, the reason this particular item is tonight's agenda is primarily just for the current status. And I wish I could tell you I had a better set of circumstances to explain to you. I'm going to start first with the wheelchair swing. This is a piece of equipment that wasn't originally part of the proposal provided by Unlimited Play to the committee. But it is a piece of equipment that very few other all-inclusive playgrounds have. So the committee endorsed moving forward with the exploration of it. First and foremost, would it fit as part of this particular facility and what's its cost? Unfortunately, those two components have been very elusive. What I'm finding is this sole source contract, and again, it's my responsibility to manage the city's end of it, includes Ideal Landscape Group, CEDC, the engineering company, Unlimited Play, All-Inclusive Rec, and now a couple of the utility providers are playing a role, much greater role than I had expected, one being MSD. So I don't have that information yet, and I've been asking for it now close to 2 months. So I wanted to update you on that. It's not that Ms. Ribito and I aren't trying, we are. It's just, it seems like it's elusive at this moment. If that's elusive, the doggone restroom is almost invisible because I think your direction was very clear. They sent over a floor plan. You as a committee said, we want a family restroom with 2 water closets and an adult changing table, and then 2 other unisex restrooms with just 1 water closet unit. That's it. That description from the committee was provided to them in a markup that was done by Ms. Ripito and I. And for whatever reason, we've been getting resubmittals that don't look much like that. And more importantly, they say they can't do it now. And by the way, the cost of everything is escalating rapidly, so you need to make a decision. I thought we had. I don't know. So we're trying to set up a Teams meeting for Thursday to talk about this and see if we can make some progress. So the restroom. We want it. Given perfect, clear direction that was provided, and we still don't have the final plan or the updated cost estimate for you. Crestview Drive, as you know, we don't own Crestview Drive. It's a private street. 2/13 of the rights. Without access to the playground, accessibility purposes, the best we offer is you park here at City Hall and you go 300+ feet in a wheelchair or however the circumstances might be. So that's out there. Mr. Lee, Mr. Brown, and others are working very hard on it. We pressed CDI to get us the design, which we have now in hand. It was presented last night to the Economic Development Committee. They gave direction relative to, we're not going to underground the utility lines. It doubles the cost of the project. We're going to try to relocate them and ensure that we don't have to pay for that, because the state legislature was thinking about making that a cost to the city. By the way, you're using our right of way. We get you easements for it. Now we gotta pay you. If we want to use our right of way for public purposes. They're private entities, by the way. They're profit makers. So, we are checking on that. So we still don't have access to the park. So, other than through phase one of Village Green. So the fourth component, that's why Mr. Bosworth and his wife are here tonight, is that, as you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial of the last version of Latitude North 30. The last version of Latitude North 38 reduced the density substantially to 44 units, but there were concerns that were identified by the Department of Planning and Zoning Commission heard with. An appeal has been filed. And that appeal now is scheduled for public hearing at the September meeting of the City Council. I say all of that because Mr. Bosworth and I had a conversation, and I think, to be frank, we both realized something's going to develop there. If it isn't this 44 unit plan, there's going to be something. Mr. Bosworth and Benton Homes don't buy property and land bank it. They buy it to develop it. And in many instances, we hope to develop it in accordance with the town center plan and other requirements. So Mr. Lee, myself, Mr. Levinson at Benton Homes, and Mr. Bosworth at TB Realty and Development met. And we kind of said, regardless of this plan, what can we do to work together to make your project eventually more feasible, and to address our concerns about its impact on Village Green phase one and phase two. And this is what came back from it. And we received this today, and we're certainly not asking you to do anything with it, but what we talked about is there are shared benefits to us working together. And you can see those. Instead of a kind of loop street that accesses Etherton Road, this is now a cul-de-sac street that terminates on Village Green phase two. What that termination does is create a cul-de-sac that offers up to 23 spaces of parking for phase two of Village Green, the playground. That's more parking than we had shown relative to our design. It's accessible from Etherton Road, and we're not dependent on obtaining rights to Crestview from the other 11 holders of right, or dedication of right of way from the other 11 holders of right, or the construction cost. So there's the first thing. And one of the reasons for the denial of the most recent application by the developers for this property was stormwater concerns. And the department's position, and it may not be one any of the council support, was let's work together and make stormwater work for your site, our site, and City Hall site. Let's look at it, because the ridge is Etherton and Crestview Drive, so to speak, and everything's coming that direction. Let's work together and make a good stormwater plan. So what they're showing now is a combined facility that's partially on Latitude North 38 site, partially on Village Green. It becomes retention, a lake, and it's an asset to the projects, the private and the public. First and foremost, the playground is to be fenced with secured gates given the clientele. So if you're worried about having a water feature near the playground, we've addressed that long before this was designed. The users of the all-inclusive playground need to have boundaries established, and all of them have fencing with self-locking gates to ensure that they're safe at the facility. So I know Mr. Cummer's been, as a private resident and adjoining property owner, very outspoken about the concerns relative to this project. Not here to change that. All I'm saying is, again, and I'm emphasizing, something's going to be there. Let's work together to get that something, whatever it is, to benefit us as the owners of the adjoining property, and hopefully help them find solutions to the problems that have created now 3 applications and 3 denials. So to summarize, progress on most of the design work for phase 2 of the playground is going terribly. And I can't give you a specific set of reasons other than maybe I'm an idiot and I just don't know what I'm doing. And the other is we have an opportunity to work together. I'm not saying that 46 single-family dwellings attached in clusters of 4 or less is the project that's going to work. But I think collectively we know something's going to happen there. It's in town center. It's designated neighborhood general. And we need to follow our plan. If something comes in that's compliant, I'll be at the podium for the near term at least. If I don't do an outburst, telling you we should follow the plan. So.
The one comment I would make to add to what you indicated is that swing is very unique, that may be throwing them off a little bit on design, because that is something that's not many places, the wheelchair swing.
Yeah.
In terms of the restroom, no clue why that is being difficult, but the other piece, there may be some pieces to that that are.
And again, Ms. Ripito, on all the communications between the different parties working on the playground, she's copied on those, the design. What I did is I basically took a marker, heavy marker, and basically did what you described. And then we also asked the committee to basically come up with color selections. Ms. McCutcheon and Ms. Dodwell, when they were members, gave color selections. I added those onto the sheet and said to Dave Buckle, the owner of Ideal Landscape Group, what works best? What have you seen of these color combinations that would look, you built 50 of these, we're building 1. What works best? What color combinations do most people find most suitable? That's what they got. I don't know what I'm getting back.
Okay, Mr. Rambo, I think was first.
Yeah, is this the time to discuss just
Certainly.
aspects of this? Yeah, so I've insisted from the beginning that the first road that was likely drawn when Wildwood was incepted was Main Street. I think you were around for that. It needs to happen, and I don't understand the resistance, because we clearly are eager to upgrade these folks' experience. And Tracy, you're a real estate professional. Is it wrong for me to suggest that this would enhance and increase their property values if we build them a mailbox, like a monument mailbox? We clean things up, they get a beautiful street to drive on. They don't have Crestview is pretty bad. The pavement's pretty bad. Is this an upgrade for those
I
folks?
think people maybe just want that in their yard, you know what I mean? Those
Yeah,
people
well,
live
yeah,
there. I think they like the privacy of it. I'm assuming
yeah, but the privacy's gone. I mean, so it's gonna be a, through street. So I don't understand that. But anyway, my observations on this plan would be the view from Main Street has to be very appealing of the house of houses, buildings, dwellings, 1 through 22. It can't just be their patios, so we gotta do better with that.
The
It's just-
fronts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They've changed.
Oh, that's the front. Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay. Okay, so the part fronting, the part toward the north, that's the front of the homes.
Yeah, so the road through the middle is the garage. So-
Okay, that's
Yeah,
great
The
news.
south has fronts facing into that, so that whole south now is like a park area.
So my reactions to this were that this pond thing is a wonderful, I guess the blue line is that pool, is that like a normal pool? Okay, and the fountain, that's an amenity for Village Green, and if we could have a little path past there, and it would be wonderful. My complaint would be that the cul-de-sac is encroaching, and I understand why, because we're trying to get, kids in wheelchairs and with other mobility problems closer to the park. But I liked the expanse of green there, and it's only a few feet, but I would, maybe we can kind of bend it around a little to the north so that it doesn't encroach quite so much on the park. But I think this is a big step in the right direction. That's my opinion of it. So I just wanted to, throw that out there.
And I'm not endorsing the.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying,
Saying
I think
is,
it's
again,
we're trying to cooperate.
And I had the heart to heart. Something's gonna go.
Yeah, no, I understand. I agree completely. And something, if it's 20 homes or if it's 40, it's still encroaching similarly. I mean, you don't count noses every time you walk out your house. It's either gonna be, and they're entitled to build, relatively high density place there.
And
right?
Mr. Cummer had a good question before the meeting started, was, well, the cul-de-sac, part of it is over the property
Uh-huh.
line, so is it split between private and public? In town center, all streets are public. So the
Oh, okay.
the street leading up to the cul-de-sac is public, cul-de-sac would be public. We would own the land, it'd be dedicated to the city.
I just would like to see a little bit more green space between the parking and the playground, just aesthetically. But my final question is, what does this availability of parking, additional parking, do to the parking that we're planning on our boulevard style Main Street? Do we get some relief over there, or are we still gonna talk about the same amount of parking there, or?
Well, as I mentioned, Mr. Cummer was at Economic Development last night, and that came up. What's Main Street really gonna look like?
Mm.
It's gonna look more like the Main Street and Main Street crossing versus the Main Street here, because what we're proposing on Main Street now in this segment is residential, not commercial.
Okay.
So it's 70 feet of right of way, 2 drive lanes, a center median, which we're using for utilities and stormwater management. And there's going to be parallel parking. There's always been planned parallel parking along
Yeah,
Village Green. But beyond that, I don't think there's much.
Good, okay, so it's cleaner, it's, okay. All right, well, thank you, that was very helpful. Appreciate it.
One thing that's nice is that it puts, the grade for this disabled parking is better than trying to have them come up, as it was before.
You mean the cul-de-sac, just having it where it is?
Just
Yeah.
the grade for, I'm only looking at the disabled piece of it for accessibility.
In
but
your-
We had to
grade
do
would
the
be better.
switch back to make the parking work for the elevation of the entry into the green, so we did that switch back.
So Vicky, in your opinion, before, I'm sorry, Tracy, but that brought up a great point. In your opinion, then, is the proximity vital or just important, or do you see it both ways? Because I think the green space is good for the soul, just like being able to, play with your friends is.
From my view, I'm just looking at it from the ability for someone to get there. This is much better than what we had because the person now doesn't have to fight the grade to get up the hill to the playground.
Sure, I'm saying if you move it 40 feet further west, is that still, would that materially affect it? Yeah, okay, I think it would aesthetically do a lot to enhance our.
It's nice that they can come in from that side. That's my only comment. The rest of it, not really my decision, but for that piece, I just wanted to mention that and that.
I just have a question. I know this is not being decided tonight or anything. But so I wanna understand, so if someone is parking to use the playground, they have to come down this street through the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
And these are all garages and people's cars, and in other words, I want the experience at the playground, like we have this beautiful village green. And now we're gonna send people down essentially an alley, and I like that they all face to the back, I think that's great. It just doesn't give me a good feel sending, you know, I don't know, everybody down that street. My question is, could those parks open from the other side and like curb around the cul-de-sac? And still the people that live here, you know, if they need extra parking, I don't know if that's intended to be an overflow. It's not gonna make them any further from where they're going. It just makes them enter a different way and park from the other side, and then, I don't know.
What about a road next to 22? What about like a connection exit?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, if I'm
I mean,
living,
would that solve the
I
problem?
don't know that I want the traffic coming through either. And it just doesn't make it pretty.
I agree with you
Because it's the
100%.
backs of their garages.
And this isn't the only disabled parking. There's
Right.
disabled parking on the other side, so not everybody is gonna be going to the
But I mean,
playground.
it'll be used for all functions of
So-
Village Green. I mean,
Well, I,
can't stop people from parking.
just to
there.
advise,
Well, they're
I think
handicapped with-
Mr. Bosworth twisted Bull's engineering arm almost off its socket to get the plan in, so we
Right,
all haven't had much time to look at it, but
Look
what
at
I
it.
would say is this is an interim solution,
No, I get it, I just want.
because right now, I don't know, is Main Street 2 years away, 3 years away? I don't know. I think we're all trying to get it done quicker, but I don't know. So eventually I could see that happening, what you just described, something coming, not a road, but like just like this simple drive out here on the west side of the building.
right.
It's just a drive
You don't
out,
have to go.
22 feet in width, comes up and accesses the cul-de-sac at a different location. Does two things. It gets them on a prettier street and into the park, and eliminates some of the traffic that the
Right,
residents.
You're talking about north-south along residence number 22. Is that what
Somewhere
you're
along there, it doesn't even have to be on their property, it could be on ours.
No, but I'm saying that's the path we're talking about.
And it doesn't have to be a street, not everything needs to be a street. Like,
It's gonna be
we-
dry.
I agree, but Tracy's completely
Smaller
right, and that
drive.
was, I forgot to mention that, but driving past 40 people's homes, they don't want that,
Right.
and it's aesthetically, it's not as good.
Okay, Mr. Farmer, I think you were next.
Yeah, so I will just say in general, I agree with you, Joe and Mr. Bosworth. Like, I think, I do think we need to find a way to figure some of these things out together because they are certainly mutual issues that need to go on. So in general, I think that that's a really good thing. But I do think, like, look, I think that there's 1, 2, 3, like 6 handicap spots, is that right? I know it's a temporary thing, but like, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, and this may have already been sorted out, like, do these guys not need a second entrance into this place? Is that not a problem?
Actually, the length of the cul-de-sac, I believe the fire marshal is satisfied with it. And the fire marshal also knows we'll eventually have Main Street to serve it as well. So
Okay. So I would just say, like, I think working together is a great thing, and I think that this is a very good start, and maybe we got some things to figure out, and all of that'll be great, but I do think, like, these 6 spots that are up here for handicap folks, my assumption, not dealing with that on a regular basis, is there's probably some kids that the closer we can get them to the park, the better. So as much as it would be, I'm with you, Rob, like, I'm all for more aesthetically pleasing things, but I think in some of these cases, the closer is better to get these kids into the park and be able to play. So, I mean, I think this is a good start. I think certainly there's probably more work to be done. When it comes to the lake, who pays for the lake's upkeep and all of that stuff? If it's split between the two, is that something that gets given to the city, or how does that work?
I think obviously we could press to have the developer pay for the maintenance. The developer will probably press for us, or there's somewhere in between. It's a joint maintenance agreement.
I just know only because I have a big lake in my subdivision, it's a gigantic pain in the ass. So
Give them the lake.
Yeah, if you guys want it, you can have my lake and you can have this lake. I don't care, but it's,
We're gonna fix it up and make it a more better retention basin, but we'd love you to keep it.
sure. But so I just think like those are maybe some of those things where we just need to, you know, understand some of those details. Cause I think getting a lake over there is a good thing. It probably solves a whole lot of problems. And that's all good. I think kind of working backwards, cause there's a few things on the table here. I'm a little, probably just cause I'm new on the committee, I'm a little unclear who we're not able to get plans back from.
So as you recall, we did this sole source agreement. Unlimited Play has been approved by Sourcewell. Sourcewell is one of those overarching entities that bid across all the states, and they basically then eliminate the process at the local level. Unlimited Play is that. Unlimited Play brought along Ideal Landscape Group, which is the contractor that'll build the park. They brought along the engineer. And the engineer now is engaging all inclusive rec, basically supplies equipment and the cost of certain non-playground items, the restroom, et cetera.
Right.
And so we have Unlimited Play that is the oversight. We have Ideal Landscape Group, the contractor. We have the engineer, and then we have All Inclusive Rec. And so there's 4 entities. And then MSD stepped into the picture and said, oh, by the way, you need to provide stormwater management. It's like, well, wait a second, didn't we talked about this when we did phase 1. They feel that there's, and part of it too, I think isn't bad, because we want to try to capture as much of the stormwater.
More is better, sure.
Future Main Street and do it here. And free up that median maybe for something else. But yeah, that's all, that's the play.
So it sounds like Unlimited Play to me.
Yeah.
They can't find us the swing?
Well, they passed it off to Ideal Landscape Group, and Ideal Landscape Group passed it off to CEDC, the engineer. And I called the Ideal Landscape Group last week, left a message, because I couldn't get anybody to answer the phone, and I haven't heard back from them. So on Friday, I said, listen, I'm not used to, I do it all the time. I don't call back people the same day. But then again, I'm not paying $80,000. So why didn't I get a call back? And that's when they all said, well, we'll get a Teams meeting scheduled for Thursday.
We're not gonna call you back. But we're gonna have.
We're gonna get a Teams meeting.
Let's get a meeting in 2 weeks.
I might just, I would say, I would just suggest this. We pay these people a lot of money to figure this stuff out. I don't think you guys need to be on any Teams meeting. I think we just say, Unlimited Play. You came in, you played your great video, everybody was in tears, we wanna have this thing. I wanna have a price for this, and I wanna have a price for this, and here's the date I need it by. And if that's a problem, here's what I would like from you, Unlimited Play lady. Coming out and explain to the council why this is an issue.
I'll be glad to
We know
go.
about that.
If you want, you can play this tape for them. Because
God bless you, sir.
that's one of these things that I think people kind of
Take advantage.
take advantage of in a big way of, you know, the generosity of the city. This is a massive undertaking. We have a small concept of how much this is going to cost. And, you know, I think if we're gonna put this in and we wanna swing for kids in wheelchairs, I don't know who else we would get that answer from. These are the people that specialize in it.
Yeah, because what Melanie and I have been told, the wheelchair swings, they are like, they require their own area. They have a special safety zone.
Yeah, I have to imagine it would have to take a lot of planning and coordination.
Yep.
So the sooner we could get something like that, the better.
And I'm not getting it right now.
Came to me on Facebook.
Who else already has one?
I should pursue them.
Who did?
Actually, no one around here.
Swing.
That's why it was
Chair
kind of
came to me
appealing.
on Facebook yesterday. I'm like,
We
maybe
need
I
to
Give it to them.
differentiate ourselves, because I don't want to sound crass, but part of this too was, this was an economic development decision to bring the playground here instead of, let's say, Glencoe or Community Park, because we know it draws people from not only the city, but the areas around the city and, well, they go down the street and get a coffee or stop at a restaurant or, so we want to make it appealing. We want to differentiate, at least that's how I interpreted the economic development side of it.
And we wanna do it, I mean, if we're gonna do it, you might as well do it the right
Yeah.
way.
Well, you know, I mean, you said it twice tonight. We're gonna do an 8-inch, 8-foot berry and then have to risk the fact that we don't have enough fall in the
Back and
line to
forth.
get the stuff to move.
Right.
Let's do it right the first time, so.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I guess. Maybe we can make, maybe I can make this motion. You guys don't.
You're gonna be on.
I'm happy to be on this. I'm good on these. I've been on Teams meetings before. We got some work done on that watershed thing pretty quick. I'm gonna tell you. The next meeting, I think, big meeting is the council meeting, right? So. I will make a motion that we reach out to Unlimited Play and we either get a price for these two objects by the next council meeting, or they can come in and explain why we don't have one.
Sounds good.
I hear a second to that motion. Ms. Lyons, any further discussion on that
Well,
motion?
everything else can go forward, even if we don't, even if we're dragging on the swing, right? I mean, there's no,
The swing in the restroom.
but the swing's not in the critical path and the restroom is bring it in on a giant crane and sit it down, right? I mean, it's a modular restroom, isn't it?
Yes, it's supposed to be pre-manufactured, but
Yeah.
we need to see first if they can build the one we asked them to
Uh-huh.
and what's the cost.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying there, neither one is in the critical path of the remainder of the project, the remainder of
I
the.
would argue that all of it is because if
Yeah.
we don't have access. We're gonna
Need
have to
to
depend on the backup city hall. Cause if we don't have Main Street.
No, I understand that. I was just suggesting that the swing, that we don't have to move forward with the swing to get the rest of the
Oh, no.
playground in operation.
Like I say,
And the restroom, that kind of sucks, but by the
No, but we
time
do-
the
we do-
construction's done.
I would say, and I mean, Joe, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, like. We don't have a full understanding of how much this is all gonna cost yet. And we have a specific limit that we
Yeah,
can reach.
sure. You're right.
And so if we put these things in and then they show up and they're like, sure, we can put it in, it's only another $200,000 to move this thing around the tree or whatever it is. That throws all of these things into a pretty significant.
We gotta have a restroom, but I'm not sure the wheelchair swing is a deal breaker necessarily, because that's gonna be costly. And you
Sure.
probably have to hire a crew of people to push the dang thing. I can't imagine how a wheelchair swing even operates. That's not a question for this group, but.
Madam Chair, does Jim Van Ness do restrooms? Sorry.
The swing is actually pretty cool. Maybe I should send you the Facebook post I got. So you can see how it works.
But there's more than one supplier for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where if they can't do it, then I'd find somebody else. I mean, the parks are so popular now all over the country.
There you go, Tracy's real estate company is gonna buy us this wheelchair swing she just found.
$200 for this one. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with this?
$1,500.
1,500?
Well, I'm sure it's.
I mean, it's not the most fancy thing in the world, but.
It's a pallet
Pallet
with some rope.
It's rustic.
It's a rustic, yeah. Rustic.
I didn't think the request was that out of the ordinary.
I don't think I don't think it is. I mean, my guess is everybody this time of year is very busy and getting stuff done and that's all fine. But we are on, in my opinion, we're on timelines. We get stuck behind a lot of stuff.
Mr. Farmer, you're absolutely right. We have a grant that was supposed to be, this
Exactly.
thing was supposed to be done at the end of this month.
Right.
Ms. Rippetto and Mr. Kelly of the Small Park Rec Commission, they are best friends, so work on her. And then, we have the grant and also we have a lot of people that have given money now. that
You have a
have-
sponsor right here, Tracy Real Estate Company, ready to sponsor all that.
$200. I'm like, oh.
I too.
So we need to honor that.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we want to vote on that at
Sure.
this point? They have the cost by the next council meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Okay. Can we move forward on Village Green Phase 2 upcoming event?
Can I ask one more question on
Sure.
this? I kind of think this is a great way to look at it, but why not just make it a connecting street? And instead of just having a cul-de-sac and bring it out to Main Street, so you'd have 2 ways in, 2 ways out and do something like that.
Absolutely.
And the parking could be along that street. It could just be a little wider. So it would alleviate my concern about the.
Well, I think it's really unfair to the people living in the homes too, to think that you've
Yeah,
got
it's
25
better than
cars
everything.
coming down and
Yeah.
going to the park for an hour.
Yeah, we
going
should,
down,
I mean,
coming back.
I would look
versus-
back at probably when we did the Green, I mean, there was a lot of people that got angry at Green Pines Park when people were parking all over the place, so,
Still do,
yeah, we've learned that lesson for sure.
anyway.
Help take that feedback
That's
back.
absolutely. We were trying to address the short term, i.e. 3 years.
Yeah.
Getting a project done and getting the park things probably 2027 project. To resolve the
A lot of we
problem.
can't get a price for the batteries.
Maybe one unit's just bathrooms.
This lake's starting to look
Thank
pretty
you.
good for the bathrooms.
Fishing. Deep sea fishing.
That's my backyard. We don't want any bath.
Tim has a fishing concession with bait.
Just
You could sell your restroom. You
can
can
put
come
the
in for
restroom.
$10.
Okay, moving on. Serpento.
Please.
All right, well, I will be brief because we don't have a whole lot left going on with our fundraising committee. But as you're aware, the city and a group of volunteers has put forth several fundraising efforts, which thus far has raised over $59,000 as per last month's update from Unlimited Play. And the next event that we have planned is the Route 66 Bingo Night, which has become wildly popular. It's next Wednesday on June 24th at 6 p.m. We had pre-registration available online. However, it has already filled up. And I'm going to reach out to Good News Brewing and see if there's a potential for overflow or something to happen, because we still have many people that are not registered that would like to be. So every registration, it's for adults and kids, $25 for adults, $10 for kids. And that comes with 10 bingo cards. So essentially 10 rounds of bingo, and a beverage, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, they will provide. In addition to just bingo, we will be doing things like a 50-50 raffle, as well as raffling items off provided by Councilmember Plesky, as well as the bingo, like the winning bingo items.
So are people allowed to attend that night to participate in that part of it and not be able to play bingo? So it's just the number, in other words, is the people that can play bingo, like.
So the real problem is occupancy.
Right,
So
I
Good
know.
News Brewing has an occupancy of 100. And I'm not positive as to whether that includes staff or not. I'm gonna find out those
She said
details.
include staff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. And so, but that's their staff and also our staff.
You could call a guy, I bet, and get a waiver for something like that temporarily.
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure you
The
can.
fire department's
But-
across the
Yeah,
street.
right.
People can-
They're
can-
Your area. And so I don't know if maybe.
I
we
do
can run
think
a
those
speaker.
outdoor tables on the back, those are like 8-person tables, so if,
Yeah.
and I kind of think that the sound is already out there, so there could
Yeah, they
be
got-
another 30 people outside.
I'm shaking.
I don't
instead of
think
the
that they've
inside.
experienced this dilemma. When I told them
That's a
that
good
we
thing.
had already cut off registration, they were truly surprised by how many people we had. And so, yeah, and I know that they also can do events outdoors because they'll do like cornhole tournaments that you can also do as a fundraising activity. And so it is possible to do it outdoors. And I looked at the weather for next Wednesday. It doesn't look bad. It looks cloudy and like 83, I think. And so
I just wonder. if
I don't know, there might be a
closing it for the
solution.
night, like closing it to the public, because people go, my son works there temporarily while he's waiting for his real job to start.
Um,
And
Can you call bingo?
Wednesday night, and that's what I'm wondering, like, if the public just comes, are they gonna say?
they don't
"We're
close.
closed"?
No,
No.
they
Can't
close
fit,
it.
so people can still come and
Uh-huh.
participate.
You have to
That's
pay to
just
get your
not
bingo cards, you can still.
It's
get in.
$100
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
If the crowd's really big, they're $50 a piece.
Right.
Yes.
Member Backert is our bingo caller for the night, so we're
I've
very
seen that
excited
because-
that he's gonna be
I've
the
seen that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, he volunteered to act as the MC for the event, and they do have a speaker, but I'm not sure it'll be necessary. But yeah, so our attendance fees thus far have raised $1,750 on top of the 59,000 that Unlimited Play has tracked. And then we also have a 50-50 raffle and then a couple items to be raffled there. And so there will still be additional funds coming in. And at the event, the city will, as always, provide the QR codes and things, you know, advertising the actual park itself and other sponsorship of like equipment and such. So that if people are interested, they're at least aware of other sponsorship opportunities. And so also additionally, last minute, addition to our concert, we have acquired another Taylor Swift guitar, authenticated, signed by Taylor Swift. And we're gonna be selling raffle tickets for that, $5 per ticket, I think, or 5 for
Yeah.
20. And so hopefully that will create a draw. I think it went up on Facebook today, advertising it outside so that hopefully, you know, we can get more interest in it. So in summary, thus far, the city's raised over $60,000 and has had more than 70 individuals or groups and sponsor the park, including 9 pieces of equipment. We will soon learn if we are rewarded the $50,000 T-Mobile grant. And if we are, that'll be $110,000 of the $500,000 goal that we were trying to achieve. So that being said, this is gonna be the last of the city's real fundraising efforts. However, we will continue to advertise it. We will continue to have our QR codes. We will continue to encourage people. But it'll be a less city-sponsored fundraiser. Businesses and individuals are still welcome to do fundraisers on their own and donate the money. But that being
Doing
said,
more direct conversations.
Or direct.
yes, that being said, that is about it for our fundraising activities. And we would like to thank everyone that has contributed and everybody that will contribute in the future. But it's been fun, that's for sure. But I think that our end is wrapping up after this. And if we do happen to be able to get more people in on the bingo fundraising, please email me with, if you're interested, and or with how many people you might have, just so that we can ask Good News and see if there's a way to work it out. But aside from that, that concludes the department's presentation, unless you have any further questions.
Did you want to go ahead and talk about the naming?
I think that Director Vunich was gonna handle that.
Certainly you can as well.
Yeah, fine.
As you know, at our May meeting, the department presented an option of naming our playground after Hunter Bellevue. The young man is center stage in the ribbon cutting that occurred at Village Green Phase 1. His mom and dad have been advocates for the playground since day one. And Ms. Bellevue has worked tirelessly with our volunteer group to raise funds, help with advertising and social media posts, etc. The committee was supportive of that and asked though that we contact the family and see what they thought. And as part of the memorandum that was prepared for tonight, I provided the quote of Ms. Bellevue email that said the idea of naming it Hunter and Friends. She also offered Hunter's Friendship Village, kind of tied into the Village Green. But someone, I remember someone on City Hall said, well, you know, there's a retirement community in Chesterfield named that, so. But as I say, I think she summed it up perfectly. But I like any and all of them, so whatever is chosen will be such an amazing honor. So tonight you can act on either of the 2 names that was provided by the family. I note that the naming of the playground certainly doesn't have to be rushed, but I would like to take to the July 13th meeting of City Council the fact that we've chosen Hunter as the main focus. And if there's any questions, Ms. Ripito talked to her over the telephone. I did it via email. We'll be glad to answer what we can. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rambo?
Yeah, I've said this before, it was a lovely family. They were just, it was just a wonderful to see how his brother supported him and so on and so forth. I think naming it Hunter and Friends is appropriate and it's gonna touch a lot of people. What I would, I spoke with Teresa Clark today about this very thing and we kind of jointly decided that Hunter and Friends is a wonderful name. But it needs something, another word that identifies it as a playground and what it is. And we were like Playville and Playtopia and Playworld and Playscape and Playzone and all those kinds. She came up with all of those, by the way. I didn't say, come up with any of them. But I don't think we need to stay well clear of Hunter uncapitalized because we're favoring the hunting community or just whatever, because it will be controversial. It needs to be Hunter, the capital, the proper name, and Friends, and something else. And so I'm just throwing it out there. If people disagree, that's fine. Hunter and Friends can be okay, but then we're back to the question of Hunter and Friends, what the heck is that? And maybe there's a tagline underneath it, but that gets cumbersome. So that's my thought. I don't have any.
Kind of what we said last month too, just to recap that, is that this is just for the playground and not for the Village Green. So it's the Hunter and Friends Playground at the Village Green,
So-
or it's whatever you want to call it for that part, but it's actually just for the playground piece of the Village Green.
Like to be more creative than Hunter and Friends Playground.
Well,
Melanie, you're creative about that kind of
we,
thing.
I don't know that I love the name necessarily, but they have down in Chesterfield, they have the Miracle Field, which is a very simple concept of what that is.
Something like that.
So, and it's ostensibly for a similar group of people. So you could do Hunter and Friends,
Something like that.
Miracle
Hunter and Friends
something.
Miracle Field, but different words.
Yeah,
Just-
I would maybe try to, I would try to link the Miracle thing just because you have people that are coming to Chesterfield to go play at the Miracle baseball field. And to know that there's something, 15 minutes up the road that is similar but different could be a good thing. And they have spent a great deal of time and energy getting the word out on that thing. So whenever you can kind of parlay that stuff without infringing on it, obviously, is a good thing.
Since this goes to city council, we know that there's another 8 people that are gonna also have ideas on what this should be. Besides Hunter and Friends, do you guys wanna try and come up with a few options to take to that group?
Well, ask
Because-
them ahead of time and they can show up and be prepared or ask, just solicit.
Yeah, we could put out an email, just.
Yeah,
say,
just solicit
have
the
ideas.
input
Feedback
because I
before the-
think,
Session at council.
We'll put it on the work session.
yeah.
That's what I meant, then, because people are gonna have comments no matter what at the work session
them
probably.
some time to think
this,
about it.
But
I would, do you need, if we're done talking, if you need a motion to just go ahead and say Hunter and Friends with some additional, I don't know
Yeah.
that we need to mention the Miracle Place or whatever it was, but some additional.
and Friends with options too.
I think Hunter is what you're looking for is naming it after Hunter,
Hunter,
and that's my motion with those caveats.
okay, second to that motion? Okay, Mr. Farmer seconds. Any other conversation before?
All but
Mr.
one
Marshall?
of these examples have playground in it.
She has Fantasy Playground, Hunter and Friends Fantasy Playground. She just texted me and she also asked, do we need, she's the brains behind the outfit. Do we need prizes for the bingo night? I was supposed to ask that, but I wasn't looking at my.
Oh, yes.
We're usually good on the prizes for the bingo night.
Turning them down, huh? Okay, all right.
I mean, if they wanna bring them, we'll take them, but.
Because I think actually now, I'm thinking about, so the Miracle Field down in Chesterfield, there were a number of Cardinals, Albert Pujols being one, Mike Matheny being another, that helped to get that going. So, I think putting playground or something, I think you need to have playground or something in it. Because it's a playground within park, which has a big name to begin with. Which isn't really define it as a park necessarily either.
But something like Hunter and Friends Fantasy Playground, cause fantasy just adds a whole measure of it's for kids and it's very cool and it's very positive and whatnot, something like that. And I'm not suggesting fantasy is any better than Miracle for
Yeah,
this.
I mean, from a branding perspective, I think you wanna make clear that it is an all-inclusive playground,
Yes,
which is
yes,
different from any of
Yes,
the others.
and it's hard
So,
with one word.
Yeah.
To do it. One or two words.
Any other comments? Okay, if we can go ahead and vote, are all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Motion passed. Okay, moving on to Wildwood Recreation Programming update. Mr. Village.
Are there any questions?
Pull back.
Ms. Ripito, will be glad to answer them at this time.
Yeah.
I'm never going on vacation again.
Okay, anything about facility reservations or event registration?
And Ms. Ripito is ready to respond.
All over it.
Okay, anything else that anyone feels they'd like to make a comment on since we're a few minutes late? To adjourn. Hey, Mr. Farmer, second to, hey, Mr. Farmer, all in favor?
I.
Okay, think we're adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
all.
Appreciate your input.
Thank you.